time. Push your man away.
PNP President Mark Golding insisting the time has come for a change in governance.
People want change. They want a government of integrity. They want a government that they can have trust and confidence in. They want a government that uses the resources for the people only and not for them friends and them cronies.
Time come to a new leader, new Jamaica, new era. We now vote for the show's leader. Long time them a take with the polling, yeah. So Mark Golding are the new leader, new Jamaica, new era. We now vote for the show's leader. Long time them a take with the polling, yeah. So tell them say time come, time come, time come. For your new Jamaica, time come, time come, time come. Visit the true Jamaica, time come, time come, time come. For your new Jamaica, time come, time come, time come, time come. For your new leader, time to build up with schools in ya. We help here for your booming ya. A long time them a take with the polling ya. So Mark Golding are the new leader, orange shirt and the new jeans ya. Nobody no for your shouting ya. Make we control crime for the new era. So tell them say time come, time come, time come. For your new Jamaica, time come, time come, time come. Visit the true Jamaica, time come, time come, time come, time come. For your new Jamaica, time come, time come, time come, time come, time come. Mark it the boss with the party. Them a crash with country so go restart it. Yes, I with the orange shirt the party. One for me daddy and one for me charge it. See the young lady the down there's a waffy. Go vote because she remember Mr. Manley. Yes, I mark it the boss with the party. Them a crash with country so go restart it. Yeah, time come, time come, time come, time come. For your new Jamaica, time come, time come, time come. This is the true Jamaica, time come, time come, time come. Your new Jamaica, time come, time come, time come, time come, time come.
If you resign, retire. Him not need it no longer set Jamaica people free. This Prime Minister is the worst Prime Minister ever coming from me boy till long in our 70 years. Him are the worst. So my sorry say Bruce Golding resign and give him the position. He better him give back PMP.
So you're sorry say Bruce Golding resign?
Resign and give him the whole next.
Are you a Labour right?
No man, me not directly none of them. Anybody when me say I do good, me vote in that man. You see man, I do good, me and my friend, and me in one party. But if you not do no good, me not put in.
What about this Prime Minister?
It's not only start carrying batty man from we jail. LBGD community and take away foreign boy and tell him. Them a white boy and we are black people. And for years they have we under slavery. We're not going back all night, we are trying to clear slavery off ourselves. So we are carrying back slavery from we. And I tell you say the Queen, we're not sure the Queen religion no more. And them and the Queen are friend behind us back.
Let me hear what you have to say. Yes. You say if Jamaica, if Prime Minister can election, Jamaica can't free. Why you say that?
Well, why I say that? When I can't stand here, I study my history. I see where Jamaica coming from. In 1960, when you look and see King Street at Kingston, and you walk downtown, and you walk down, when you look on Darling Street, you can't be this at Darling Street at Tivoli. Not a straw upon the road, not a patrol upon the road. Yeah. No middle at Kingston. Be careful. You're just in a whole mash up. The whole of downtown stink. This is stinking this part of the world. And the first Jamaica ever Make sure it's not the issue. Marcus Garvey say, prophesy three things. Hold on the granty. Marcus Garvey prophesy three things. First thing he prophesies and he come true. He said, that man Washington Manley went to by the fig, one of the fig tree and wind up, he won't cut it down. In the clearing dead. He said when he left Spanish-Town prison, if it's over, he said not a man going to go through that door there again. And when he did Marcus Garvey come out of the he never hope him again. He said one more professor left for him. He said one of the head of state. The Prime Minister head man roll. Head of the roll, that man going to kick it in a Kingston. They want to be careful. Free Jamaica, making say we are doing to man.
What do you mean by free Jamaica? When do bad? Where Andrew do bad? Where am I do bad?
Tell me one thing when as a Prime Minister, that you figure foreign and come tell him, say, all you people and good for is to eat chicken back, quarter pound of butter, half a pound of rice, banana shop.
Who said that?
I'm the one is.
When?
You never hear it. If I take internet on my phone now, I'd show you when I speak and say it. I'd show you on your phone when I say it by word.
Jamaica good for?
Buy chicken back and half a pound of butter and the saltfish and thing and go for a corner shop, go for the shop. They can't just come out. How can you?
What are your first person me here said that?
Me are the first?
Yes, you're the first person.
No man, you can't.
You can't say if you're the first person.
A question to you, but I want to ask you, so how that not make the headline that the Prime Minister go abroad and said that?
It make headline, you know.
You
see, right? You see TVJ,
yeah,
TVJ and CBM and all the.
Let me ask you something. Let me ask you something before you go. Who is going to win the parish council? Who is going to win the parish council?
PNP. Nobody cares about PNP.
I don't know.
I was thinking that Charlie will elect. Let's get there with them. So I will come straight to win again. Now, me see, look, PNP gone with it. PNP ain't gone with it. Alright, look at the big corner up to that. I pay free food and free liquor. I road not black.
Make answer something to you?
You see when PNP
Hey, you're the camera. Hey, you're the camera. Make answer something to you? From I come here and I do the report and you appear old people as a PNP. Where the young people are?
Young people?
Yeah, like yourself.
No man, them that work. Them that boat. What you want to master? Then I come out of the car and say, I support the green man. I see one of them without us up today.
You know words say appear old people as a PNP now.
Yes, but you want all our young people that want to trick before they win the election. They see what they go on. We can't shoot them again. The next election.
As the countdown to the general elections looms, Prime Minister Andrew Holness has begun to make several changes. It's understood that Holness has been meeting with several of the actors as he plots how to replace Dr. Nigel Clark and revamp his governing Labour Party. With recent polls and the outcome of the local government elections revealing a troubling decline in support for his administration, the Prime Minister is said to be moving decisively now. The opposition People's National Party (PNP) is gaining ground, setting the stage for a high-stakes battle for control of Gordon House no later than a year from now, September 2025. According to some political insiders, corrections heading into 2025 are needed if the government hopes to win an unprecedented third consecutive term in power for the JLP. Unlike the opposition People's National Party, which won 4 consecutive general elections between 1989 and 2007, the JLP has never pulled off a triple. Smith's exit marks the beginning of what is anticipated to be a series of high-profile departures from the government ranks at both the ministerial and parliamentary levels. Smith, who won the St. Anne Northeast seat in the 2020 general election, has seen her relationship with the constituents deteriorate since 2022, culminating in public protests against her. Her decision to bow out of the next election has paved the way for Minister without portfolio, Matthew Samuda, to be the party standard-bearer for the constituency. A by-election to allow him to enter the lower house now seems likely ahead of next year's general elections. With Samuda set to enter the lower house, a by-election is now on the horizon, triggering his resignation from the Senate and creating more options for Prime Minister Holness. However, the anticipated changes are not likely to end there. Nationwide News understands that several other veteran MPs are being asked to step down to allow an influx of fresh talent into the ranks of the governing party. This would enable the Prime Minister to secure a replacement for Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clarke, who is scheduled to depart for his new role as Deputy Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund (IMF) at the end of October. It will also enable him to shore up potential areas of weakness ahead of next year's grand contest. As these maneuvers unfold, the political landscape is set for a dramatic overhaul, with Holness potentially repositioning his administration as the countdown to the general elections looms.
Jamaica, it's time for us to fire Andrew Holness. Andrew Holness, call the general election so that the people of Jamaica can fire you from the role of Prime Minister of this country. You have no regard for the democratic right of the people of Jamaica. And we are tired of the insult and disrespect that you have shown us time and time again. You call a by-election 24 hours after an MP from a safe Jamaica Labour Party constituency resign. That you force the lady to resign so that you can have a by-election, so that you can do some changes because your prize bull, Nigel Clarke, jumped ship because the ship is sinking. Andrew Holness, there are about 5 constituencies, 2 constituencies and 2 divisions that needs a by-election. And you and your government amended the legislation not to call a by-election in Morant Bay because you said that burial, the effect of burial causes that, so on a delay it instead of 90 days to 180 days. This lady resigned yesterday and you call a by-election today. Burial condition is not the same. You're a hypocrite. The Jamaica Labour Party is a hypocrite government. And I salute Mark Golding not to participate in any by-elections because the general election is due within this year. The JLP is going into their 5th year, 5th and final year of government, and they need to call the general elections so that the people of Jamaica, so that we can fire you. Andrew Holness, we're tired of your mismanagement, your disrespecting government, and your government badness. It's time that you call it general election. You're a coward and you're afraid. You are afraid to call the general election. So you're hiding in calling the by-election so that you can drum up the support of the Jamaica Labour Party and then create a narrative to say the people of Jamaica is still with the Jamaica Labour Party. But Andrew, this is 2024. Jamaicans are not Jamaicans are fool again. Jamaicans are no idiots. Call the general election. You're a coward. You're calling the by-election so that you can build that momentum. But it no matter how many by-elections you call in a safe Jamaica Labour Party constituency, the people of Jamaica is tired of you, fed up of you. You boast about the economy is growing and the economy is actually contracting. Inflation is high. People can't afford food. Everything expensive. Gas gone up. You're spending $30 million on one election, Mr. Holness, and the Jamaica Labour Party government. You are spending $30 million on one election, while people who are still recovering from burial still not have food for heat, still not have light, still not have water. Farmers lose their livelihoods. People are still recovering. Roads bad. And you are willing to take up $30 million and spend on one by-election. And you have about 4 or 5 by-elections to call. Andrew, why not call the general election? Call the general election so the people of Jamaica can fire you from the job because you're not doing a good job. And I am a Jamaican and I can say proudly that I'm not proud of this Prime Minister. I'm not proud of your achievements, not proud of the achievements of the Jamaica Labour Party. It's time that we get a new captain of the ship because the ship that you are sailing is sinking and we see that and everybody's seeing it. Time come, call the general election and stop hide behind by-elections.
Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. Andrew Holness, I have always respected you as a Prime Minister. I've never disrespected you, right? Now my question to you this morning is, I noticed you called a by-election for Northeast St. Anne. Why you're not calling the by-election for the Morant Bay Division, Eastern St. Thomas Morant Bay Division? Why you're not calling the by-election for that division? Is it that because, yes, St. Anne seat is a safe seat, but you're not sure about the Morant Bay Division seat? Is that the reason why you come up with this thing about Beryl and you couldn't call the by-election because of Beryl? That is crap. That's nonsense. What kind of game are you playing with us over here in St. Thomas? What you take us over here in St. Thomas for? We're a bunch of fools. That's what you're saying? It is so unfair. It is unfair to us not to have proper representation over here in St. Thomas. Look how quick you call the by-election for St. Anne. So what about St. Thomas? What is it about Eastern St. Thomas Morant Bay Division seat why you don't want to call the by-election for the Morant Bay Division? It is unfair and it is clear. It is very clear. It is very clear you're scared of the Morant Bay Division seat because you see where you're not going to get that seat. So you rather not to call the election. It is quite clear what you're doing. It is very clear what you're doing, Mr. Prime Minister. And as I said, I've always respected you, never disrespected you. But I think what you're doing, it is so unfair to us over here in Eastern St. Thomas Morant Bay Division. It is very, very unfair to us, sir.
How can it be that you have a government where they tell our nurses and our teachers that you must stay and sacrifice for the benefit of this country? You have a minister of finance that raised the pay for himself and others within the political directorate by 300%. And he said that he raised it because he's trying to attract the best and the brightest and he wants them to stay in Jamaica. And only for us to get up on it, I hear that the same man said the 300% is not enough, so he migrated. An orthopedic surgeon, a bone specialist in Jamaica, earns $12 million per year. Nigel was earning 24. 2 times what the bone specialists are earning. Nigel is leaving Jamaica to go to foreign to earn $431,000 US per year. If the orthopedic surgeon leave and go to the US, they would earn $800,000 US per year. 2 times what Nigel run gone for. Now, I want you to understand this here. In Jamaica, Nigel earn 2 times what the bone specialists are earning. If run God to a work, that if the man run with him or the woman who is the bone specialist, they will earn 2 times what him earn over there. And they have decided to stay because they put Jamaica first. Nigel only cares about himself. I'm not about being personal and cheap. Because any one of us could have stayed in our private endeavors and aim to be at the top of it. I could be practicing medicine and aiming to be a consultant at Mayo Clinic. All of us could do that. We took a conscious decision that we were going into politics to shape the direction that this country is going in. And 1 year before the general election, the finance minister packed up his bag and gone, where we are telling all of the JLP MPs, from Andrew right down to Siblings or whatever I mean, pack your bags and go!
Campaign at this time. Money is not a problem. We are not complaining about money. We are strategically doing what we are doing. There are persons in the society that have bought into what we are about. We have a lead in the polls. Persons are willing to support our efforts. So that is not a consideration to say that we have no money. That is not the consideration. There's a moral issue at play, right? There's a principled issue. There's a poor governance in Jamaica in general. The government cannot orchestrate a vacancy in a constituency and then call that by-election the next day whilst ignoring a vacancy that exists for over a year in another constituency. That should be frowned on by all in Jamaicans.
You mentioned the divisions already, but say for instance, because the Prime Minister said in the coming months he will call the other by-elections. We'll see how that plays out. What if a by-election is announced in Trelawney, and if and when Dr. Clark resigns, there's a by-election in that constituency as well. Will you contest those two?
So that's what I'm saying. We are contesting the by-elections in the divisions, and the principle behind it is that the local government election is not due until 2028, and that's why we're contesting that. But the by-elections in the constituencies, we're not contesting those because the general election is due within 12 months. And the same thinking that informed both major political parties in the parliament to have put the provision in the constitution that there is no by-election within the last year of the general local government election being due is the same principle that should obtain for the general election. It is a waste to have $25 million per by-election. The Prime Minister didn't even come today to announce all 3 by-elections at once. What he's trying to do is to do them serially, to try and develop some momentum and try to assist his failing numbers in the polls and those things. So he's trying to get some momentum out of this whilst wasting the resources of the state. How do you look on a teacher and look at the parents and say to them that your child can't start school, they have to be in a church hall because the roof of the school isn't repaired, but we can find $25 million to call a by-election that was orchestrated by the Labour Party?
Another thing, it sort of seemed, well, let me get back on track. Right. Your party workers in Northeast St. Ann, how have they reacted to this decision? That's if they're told.
Our party workers in Northeast St. Ann and in the other 62 constituencies, along with a host of Jamaicans, are saying that this entire government needs to go. And so they want the general election. I've been saying it before that what we have currently is government ministers who are auditioning for jobs elsewhere. Kamina Johnson-Smith was trying to become Secretary General, was it? Commonwealth a few years ago. Minister Clark is leaving. The same man that said that he was increasing the salary so that people would not migrate, so he can retain and attract the brightest, but apparently he didn't increase by enough to retain himself. We have teachers and nurses and other persons who we are calling upon them to stay in Jamaica whilst we have government ministers auditioning for jobs elsewhere. I want to sign a recommendation for the Prime Minister for some international job because his time is up.
Is it safe to say the PNP was caught off guard by this latest announcement?
Not at all. As I said, we're in full election mode. We're preparing for a general election. So if we're in the phase of preparing for a general election, calling a by-election could not be something that catches us off guard. There's a principled matter here, as you cannot orchestrate a vacancy and then ignore a vacancy that existed before for 1 year and then go and call the one. I don't think that has ever happened in the country before, where somebody resigns one day and by the next day you have an announcement. We didn't have a resignation of Mike Henry, Carl Samuda, J.C. Hutchinson, all of these ailing politicians that are in the departure lounge. What we had was a young female that they used and discarded. She's within year 4 of her first term, and she was pushed out to facilitate the machinations of the Prime Minister. We're not going to be party to that.
One other quick question. How can Jamaicans take the PNP seriously at this time with you sitting out a by-election at a time like this?
They're taking us serious because we're not participating in a process to waste the state resources to contest an election that was orchestrated by the government whilst ignoring a vacancy that exists for over 1 year. Jamaicans must take the PNP serious. I would ask the question, how can they take this government serious that would ignore a vacancy that has been there for 1 year, orchestrate one, and then call it the next day, whilst at the same time going to the parliament to change the constitution to put off the by-election in St. Thomas where a councillor died A natural cause created that vacancy, and they have gone to the parliament to change the law to put that off. But they've gone there to call a by-election the day after they orchestrated the resignation of a young female that they have not supported and guided in the process to ensure that